The White House describes it as a promise kept. Donald Trump is going ahead with his plan to impose tariffs on the United States' biggest trading partners, starting with Canada. Former parliamentary budget officer Kevin Page has seen what tariffs and counter-tariffs can do to an economy, and he joins us now. Kevin, it's hard for us to grasp, I think, at this stage, how far-reaching the impact will be of these policies. What is your base case for what this means for the Canadian economy? What does this do to growth, to unemployment, and who does it hurt the most?
Yeah, good to be with you, Nivrita. It's in terms of the base case, I think it's a significant historical moment for Canada. It will have a large impact because we're a small open economy. 25% tariff on Canada, on Mexico, I think could result in a significant drop in output relative to our base case. I think we heard from the Bank of Canada it could be in the neighborhood of 2 to 2.5 percentage points in terms of real GDP, real output. Other forecasters have it in a similar range. Oxford Economics around 2%. In terms of employment and the unemployment rate, we could easily see a significant spike in the unemployment rate. Now it's sitting at 6.7%. A recession, a small recession, could easily a drop of output of 2% could easily add 1.5% to 2% to the unemployment rate. So we could be in the 7.5% to 8% range in terms of unemployment rate. This could be we're talking about many hundreds of thousands of jobs. Perhaps over 1 million jobs. If this is protracted, lasts for more than a year. So this is a big shock to the base case.
We've seen in recent weeks, ministers at every level scrambling to prevent exactly this outcome. What should their response be now? Do you support the idea of retaliatory tariffs?
Yeah, I think the U.S. was hoping that they would not get a retaliation. They want to avoid a trade war. Additional revenues would come in that with respect to the import taxes, the tariffs. And that they may see some reshoring with respect to manufacturing over the years. So this in generally they see a positive benefit. It's a bigger than neighbors sort of policy. I think with a retaliatory response, I think this changes the dynamics completely. This means that overall, both, unfortunately, Canada and the United States will be losers, but the U.S. will lose more in terms of economic output. And this is also a significant problem for economic uncertainty, which will affect investment in both countries and in the world, quite frankly.
And what would that do to inflation then? It seems like we only just got that under control.
Yeah, it will be. It will be a significant bump to the inflation rate, and whether how that will proceed after this initial bump, we'll see. I think the Bank of Canada was again, to your point, they thought that we had inflation comfortably in that 1 to 3% target. It's sitting just under 2% on a year-over-year basis right now. We could add percentage points to the inflation rate, but I think one would hope it would come down. Of course, with the recession, we'll reduce a lot of demand pressure, and that will keep prices, from going up. So it's really, I guess, the best hope that we have, Nivrita, is that this is short and not protracted, and we can live through this. But that requires a really good negotiating strategy from Canada.
I want to get your thoughts on Trump's premise for these tariffs. It's been a mix of border security, military spending, and of course the trade deficit, which he says is $200 or depending on the day, even $250 billion. And we know that is a much smaller number. If you could help explain to us what's true and what's false about the premise here.
Yes, I think it's really key to figuring out the strategy is to try to understand the premise that President Trump and his colleagues have with respect to these tariffs. In the case of Canada, it is not fentanyl coming across the border. It is not illegal immigrants coming across the border. I think many economists have showed and demonstrated when you look at the numbers, this is not a trade imbalance problem between Canada and the United States, where on a balance of payments basis, we are effectively in balance. When you look at other trade balance figures, it's a very small surplus in Canada's favor, but that goes up or down depending on economic context, and most of that current surplus is energy related. I think there are other broader issues that were talked about in terms of Canada needing to provide a bigger contribution to national security. Like we need to do, defense spending. So could this actually be a negotiating tactic to get Canada to spend more on the military. I think Canada has already committed to getting to 2%. I think we'll probably have to get there sooner rather than later. That could be one issue. I think the issue that concerns Canadians and keeps us up at night is this commentary that comes from President Trump with respect to Canada being a state, the 51st state of the United States, and really this inflammatory kind of language with respect to our Prime Minister being a governor. And I think this raises questions of sovereignty, which really takes us out of the realm of even a trade war and puts us much more into, really a risk to Canadian sovereignty. And that could require a much stronger response on the part of Canada.
All right, that is Kevin Page, President and CEO at the Institute of Fiscal Studies and Democracy. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Pleasure, Nivrita.